Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy today's episode.
After all, any one of the cultivation methods within the memories of the Rebirth Martial Emperor was a first-rate treasure in the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. Duan Ling Tian was sure that Zhao Lin, Zhao Yu, and the other Zhao clan members wouldn't have the slightest resistance when facing this cultivation method. Zhao Lin, didn't you always want the Muscle Meridian Rebirth Scroll in my possession? Since you want it so much, then I'll make one for you. A cold light flashed within Duan Ling Tian's eyes when he thought about Zhao Lin. Whoosh! Suddenly Duan Ling Tian stood up and looked at the trembling middle-aged man that stood at the side and said indifferently, "Take this cultivation method and pass it to Zhao Yu. Just say you got it from killing me. In this way, you don't have to offend that Zhao Yu." This. The middle-aged man was slightly hesitant and his eyes contained doubt. After all, he saw this young man wield a brush energetically and write this cultivation method with his own two eyes. Would a cultivation method written by a young man be able to deceive that sly old fox, Zhao Yu? He was extremely doubtful in his heart. What? Worried it would be see-through by Zhao Yu. Duan Ling Tian glanced indifferently at the middle-aged man, then passed the Muscle Meridian Rebirth Scroll over. Read through it yourself. The middle-aged man took a deep breath and received the Muscle Meridian Rebirth Scroll before reading it. In next to no time, the middle-aged man's attention was completely captivated by the cultivation method, and he'd become completely infatuated with the first half of the cultivation method. Time silently flowed by. After 15 minutes passed, the middle-aged man had only seen the beginning of the first half, and he'd already taken Duan Ling Tian to be a godly figure. This cultivation method. You really want me to give it to Zhao Yu? The middle-aged man felt extremely surprised. He was able to discern that this cultivation method was extremely valuable, to the extent that even he was tempted by it. But now, this young man actually wanted to give this cultivation method to Zhao Yu, the person that wanted to kill the young man. He couldn't wrap his head around it. Duan Ling Tian glanced indifferently at the middle-aged man, then said, "Just do as you're told. Don't ask what you shouldn't ask. Little Gold, follow him over. Kill him if he dares play any tricks." Squeak, squeak. The little gold mouse nodded excitedly, and flowing lights revolved around the grade 6 spirit sword in her hand, as if it was ready to be sent into the middle-aged man's throat at any moment. The middle-aged man's face went ghastly pale, and he understood in his heart that if he didn't want to die, then he could only do as the young man said. Otherwise, he would die without a doubt. He'd already planned that after he gave this cultivation method to Zhao Yu, he'd leave the ancient city of Everlast and put some distance between himself and this place where trouble might come looking for him. He kept having the feeling that the cultivation method in his hand was completely different from what it seemed to be. Although he wasn't familiar with this young man, but he could perceive that it was impossible for the young man to be so kind. Zhao Yu was a person who wanted to kill the young man. He'd asked himself, if it was him in the young man's place, it would be impossible for him to act like the young man. When the middle-aged man left, he said to himself, he's surely done something to this cultivation method. Duan Ling Tian sent the middle-aged man off with his eyes, then withdrew a pile of weapons refinement materials while waiting within an inn, as he intended to refine a weapon. I left in a hurry the last time, and wasn't in time to refine a grade 6 spirit sword for myself and the two little girls. I'll first refine one for myself. I'll refine spirit swords for the two little girls when I have time in the future." Duan Ling Tian commanded in his heart, and with a flip of his palm, a strand of green flame jumped about atop his palm. Grade 6 weapon flame. The pile of materials transformed into pools of liquids as soon as they touched the weapon flame, and in the end, they fused together. Duan Ling Tian's hands flashed, as if transforming into numerous afterimages. The speed of his technique was astounding. If a weapons craftsman was here, he would surely be extremely astonished because Duan Ling Tian's weapons refinement technique was really too astounding. Before long, when the materials were almost completely smelted, Duan Ling Tian withdrew the narrow sword he used before and fused it into the pile of materials. Subsequently, the violet myrtle flexible sword was tossed in by him as well. Gradually, all the materials transformed into a pool of liquid that formed the shape of a sword. In the end, The shape slowly took form to transform into a dark violet flexible sword. The flexible sword was thin like a cicada's wing. It seemed to be not too different from the violet myrtle flexible sword, yet their might couldn't be compared. Duan Ling Tian grasped the flexible sword tightly. Then his hand shook and origin energy fused into the flexible sword. In an instant, origin energy raged and skyrocketed. Whoosh! First, 600 ancient mammoth silhouettes appeared above Duan Ling Tian. Then, another 252 ancient mammoth silhouettes appeared. A total of 852 ancient mammoth silhouettes. An amplification of 42%. Extraordinary performance. Duan Ling Tian's face revealed a pleasantly surprised expression. He'd originally thought the grade 6 spirit sword in his hand would at most amplify his strength by 41%, but who would have imagined that it actually was able to amplify his strength by 42%? After all, an ordinary grade 6 spirit sword like the narrow sword Duan Ling Tian used before was only able to provide an amplification of 38%. The grade 6 spirit saber, Tearless Knight, in the possession of the 7-star sword sex Mizar Peak's master, Zheng Fan, was able to amplify strength by 40%, and it was already capable of being called as at the top grade amongst the top grade. Where the grade 6 spirit sword in Duan Ling Tian's hands now had already completely surpassed Tearless Knight. In the entire Cloud Continent, it was probably only Duan Ling Tian who could refine a grade 6 spirit sword like this, the one and only person capable. After all, even the Rebirth Martial Emperor all those years ago had only refined one grade 6 spirit weapon with an amplification of 42%. This grade 6 spirit sword is probably my peak creation. Duan Ling Tian sighed with emotion, and he clenched the flexible sword even more tightly. In the future, I'll continue calling you Violet Myrtle Flexible Sword. Duan Ling Tian lightly stroked the blade of the flexible sword in his hand, his gaze concentrated and gentle, as if he was stroking his lover. Swoosh! Suddenly, a gust of wind howl sounded out, interrupting Duan Ling Tian's thoughts. Duan Ling Tian felt his shoulders sink, and he didn't have to look to know who had returned. Little Gold, how was it? Did it go smoothly? Big brother Ling Tian. That Xiaoyu was jubilant when he saw the cultivation method that fellow brought to him. He looked to me as if he wished for nothing more than to directly cultivate it. Big brother Ling Tian, what did you do to that cultivation method? The little gold mouse's voice transmission was filled with curiosity. What can I do? Duan Ling Tian shook his head and smiled, and he naturally wouldn't speak of the truth. After all, the truth was slightly unsuitable for children. Moreover, this little fellow was only 7 or 8 years old this year, and according to humans, she was only a little kid. Big brother Ling Tian, could it be that you're really so kind to pass down a cultivation method to them? The little gold mouse obviously didn't believe him. All right, you little kid, let's go. We ought to leave as well. Duan Ling Tian shook his head and smiled, then left the ancient city of Everlast with the little gold mouse. After they exited the ancient city of Everlast, Duan Ling Tian blew a whistle and a black figure descended from the horizon. It was precisely the first-level nascent soul stage fierce beast, the Sun Eagle. Let's go. Duan Ling Tian sat cross-legged on the back of the Sun Eagle, and the 7-star sword sect inner court disciple attire on his body fluttered with the wind as he was brought to travel in a flash by the Sun Eagle. The little gold mouse stood there on his shoulder as she curiously looked right and left, as she was filled with curiosity towards everything in the surroundings. Ancient City of Everlast, Ancient River Trading Company's branch. Lei. The beaming Xiaoyu walked into a small courtyard, and his tone contained excitement mixed within. Father. In next to no time, Zhao Lei opened the door from within the room and greeted Xiaoyu in. After they closed the room door, Zhao Lei had an excited expression. Father, you look so happy. Could it be that it succeeded? Look. Xiaoyu passed the ancient and simple little booklet in his hand to Zhao Lei. Muscle Meridian Rebirth Scroll. Zhao Lei's gaze lit up when he saw the cover of the small booklet, and he was slightly excited. Father, is this confirmed? Don't worry. Father has looked through a portion of the beginning. It's incomparably profound and is absolutely a genuine cultivation method. Throughout the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom, no Even if it's throughout the Darkstone Empire and Darkhan Dynasty, there might not be a cultivation method that is so miraculous. Zhao Yu's face was covered in a brilliant smile. Now, I can finally understand why Duanling Tian was able to possess that strength and natural talent at such an age. It's completely because of this muscle meridian rebirth scroll. Wonderful. In the future, the life of Zhao Lei, will change completely. Zhao Lei took a deep breath and suppressed the excitement in his heart, then looked at Zhao Yu and asked, "Father, what about Duanling Tian?" "Don't worry, he's already been taken care of. Otherwise, where do you think this muscle meridian rebirth scroll came from?" As Zhao Yu finished speaking, he laughed loudly. "Lei, father has thought it through. Depart today and hurry to the 7-Star Sword sect and take this muscle meridian rebirth scroll with you to go see your uncle. The cultivation location of your grandfather, one of the 9 great spirit points of the 7-Star Sword sect, is even more suitable for you to disperse your cultivation and cultivate this muscle meridian rebirth scroll instead." Grandfather? Zhao Lei's gaze shone. He naturally knew that the grandfather his father spoke of was the distinguished figure in the 7-Star Sword sect, one of the 2 guardian elders of the 7-Star Sword sect. People called him Elder Ming. "Yes, father." Zhao Lei hurriedly nodded. In next to no time, under Zhao Yu's arrangement, Zhao Lei rode a nascent soul stage flying beast and headed all the way towards the 7-Star Sword sect. Zhao Lei's mood surged, as if he could already see his all-powerful future. In the other direction from the ancient city of Everlast. Swoosh. High above in the air, an enormous flying beast flashed past with extremely swift speed. If one were to look carefully, one would be able to discern that this flying beast was a first-level nascent soul stage Sun Eagle. On the back of the Sun Eagle, a young man in violet-colored casual clothes sat cross-legged with his eyes closed as he meditated, obviously cultivating. On the head of the Sun Eagle, a small golden ball of fur was curled up there. It was a fluffy and chubby little gold mouse. The little gold mouse stood on the head of the Sun Eagle and sent a voice transmission to urge the Sun Eagle on. "Quickly, quickly, quickly. Aya, you're too slow. If you're any slower, then I'll ask Big Brother Ling Tian to make a stew out of you." The Sun Eagle was a nascent soul stage fierce beast after all, and it possessed basic human intelligence. Its sharp eyes contained slight helplessness and terror mixed within when it heard the voice transmission of the little gold mouse. "Little Gold, you're bullying Sun Eagle again?" Suddenly, the violet-clothed young man atop the Sun Eagle's back opened up his eyes that glowed brightly. In this instant, there seemed to be something else on the young man's body, something that was difficult to fathom. "Hee. Big Brother Ling Tian, you're awake?" The little gold mouse's figure flashed to descend onto the knee of the violet-clothed young man. Then she raised her little head to look at Duanling Tian as she sent a voice transmission. Big Brother Ling Tian, you seem to be slightly different." "Yes, I've broken through." The violet-clothed young man, Duanling Tian, nodded with a smile. Exactly, he'd broken through. Officially broken through to the 5th level of the nascent soul stage. "Little Gold, where are we now?" Duanling Tian asked the little gold mouse. The little gold mouse shook her small head, then sent a voice transmission. "I don't know." "Don't know?" The corners of Duanling Tian's mouth twitched, then he looked towards the Sun Eagle beneath him and blew a whistle, making the Sun Eagle descend. Instantly, the Sun Eagle's figure shook, then plunged in descent. Swoosh. The Sun Eagle carried Duanling Tian and the little gold mouse, seeming to transform into an arrow that had left the bow as it swiftly tore through the sky. Duanling Tian looked down upon the ground, and only then did he notice that he was in the sky above a desolate mountain and plains. "What place is this?" Duanling Tian had a bewildered expression, then he muttered to himself. At the beginning, Sun Eagle headed all the way north. "Little Gold, how long have I cultivated for?" Duanling Tian looked at the little gold mouse as he asked. 20 days. The little gold mouse replied via voice transmission. "So long? No wonder I'm feeling slightly hungry." Duanling Tian rubbed his thin and dry stomach, then asked the Sun Eagle to descend into the desolate mountain and plains. Duanling Tian started a fire on the spot after hunting a few wild beasts. Subsequently, he started roasting the meat. The fragrance of meat quickly suffused into the air, causing Duan Ling Tian to be unable to wait for the moment he could savor it. Duan Ling Tian withdrew a spirit sword and slashed a few times on the thick and heavy meat before sprinkling some ordinary seasonings. Instantly, fragrance assaulted them. Sun Eagle, you worked the hardest amongst the three of us, so you eat this piece first. Duan Ling Tian passed the meat in his hand to the Sun Eagle. However, in next to no time, Duan Ling Tian noticed that the jade green eyes of the little gold mouse was glaring at the Sun Eagle. Whereas although the Sun Eagle coveted the roasted meat in Duan Ling Tian's hand, yet it didn't dare make the slightest movement even after a long time, as if it was extremely afraid that the little gold mouse would pounce over and roast it as well. Little fellow, you're really overbearing. Here, eat it. Duan Ling Tian was slightly helpless and passed the roasted meat in his hand to the little gold mouse. The little gold mouse glanced at the Sun Eagle once more, with an experience as if she was saying, "At least you're sensible." Then she received the roasted meat and started nibbling. Duan Ling Tian continued to roast meat. When he and Sun Eagle had filled their bellies, the night sky had already slowly descended. We'll spend the night here tonight and leave early in the morning, Duan Ling Tian said to the little gold mouse. Then he asked the Sun Eagle to conceal itself high above in the sky, and he himself casually found a large withered tree before laying down atop the enormous tree trunk. The little gold mouse leaped up onto a nearby tree trunk and fell asleep before long. The moon was bright, and the stars were few. The gentle moonlight poured down to envelop Duan Ling Tian. It's already been 3 months since I left the Seven-Star Sword sect. According to my knowledge, the Darkstone Empire seems to be north of the ancient city of Everlast. If the Sun Eagle flew north all the way for 20 days, then wouldn't it mean that the ground beneath my feet already belongs to the domain of the Darkstone Empire? Duan Ling Tian gazed at the bright moon that hung in the sky as he thought in his heart. The moon tonight was especially round. In his previous life, the Mid-Autumn Festival was completely meaningless to him, who was an orphan, because he didn't have any family members to reunite with. In this lifetime, it was different. He had a mother that doted on him, and 2 fiancées that he cherished like his life. Unknowingly, it has already been 3 years since leaving the Crimson Sky Kingdom. I wonder how Mother is now. After Duan Ling Tian recalled the mother of his current lifetime, Li Ro, his thoughts were beyond control after they occurred. The 2-year agreement with the Zither Young Master is in 9 months. I'll bring Ku-Er and Little Fei on a trip back to the Crimson Sky Kingdom after fulfilling this 2-year agreement. Duan Ling Tian set a plan in his heart. His thoughts drifted, and unknowingly, Duan Ling Tian had fallen into a deep sleep. At dawn the next day, they departed once again. The Sun Eagle flew for 5 days consecutively, yet still hadn't flown out of the desolate area. Too slow, too slow. In the end, the little gold mouse was completely impatient, and she sent a voice transmission to Duan Ling Tian. Big brother Ling Tian, this fellow's speed is too slow. I'll fly you. Okay. Duan Ling Tian nodded, as the speed of little gold far surpassed the Sun Eagle by more than 10 times. Presumably, it wouldn't be long before they would be able to leave this desolate area. Swoosh. The little gold mouse stood mid-air and instantly enlarged, like a 3-meter-tall hill. Duan Ling Tian followed momentum and descended onto the back of the little gold mouse. Right when Duan Ling Tian intended to call over the Sun Eagle, the little gold mouse turned around and looked at the Sun Eagle, and flowing lights revolved within her jade green eyes. Duan Ling Tian understood that little gold ought to be communicating with the Sun Eagle. In the end, he first saw a wisp of terror appear in the sharp eyes of the Sun Eagle. Then the Sun Eagle glanced at him before spreading out its wings before turning around and flying towards the way it came. Duan Ling Tian was stunned. Little Gold, what did you say to the Sun Eagle? Big brother Ling Tian, I asked him to go home. Otherwise, I'll make a stew out of him. The little gold mouse squinted as her voice transmission entered Duan Ling Tian's ears, causing Duan Ling Tian's face to freeze. The voice that was pleasing to the ear like a young girl's voice revealed the tone of a little devil. Little Gold, you chased the Sun Eagle back to the primeval forest, so in the future, I'll be relying on you to give me a ride. Duan Ling Tian smiled. If the little gold mouse was willing to give him a ride, then the efficiency wasn't just slightly higher. Humph, humph. So be it. It's better than allowing that fellow to ascend my back. I'm a jade-eyed heavenly mouse, a descendant of a saint beast. How could I be reduced to the mount for a mixed-haired bird? The little gold mouse's voice transmission was filled with arrogance. Descendant of a saint beast? Duan Ling Tian was surprised when he heard the little gold mouse. He'd searched through the entire memories of the Rebirth Martial Emperor, yet there wasn't any recording related to descendants of saint beasts. In other words, even the Rebirth Martial Emperor had never heard of descendants of saint beasts. Yeah, after I overcame the 6-9 heavenly tribulation that day, a lot of inherited information awoke within my mind. Our Jade-Eye's heavenly mouse family are descendants of saint beasts. Our bloodline is noble and transcends above the myriad of demon beasts. The little gold mouse replied via voice transmission. Looks like there are many things within Cloud Continent that even existences at the level of the Rebirth Martial Emperor didn't know. Duan Ling Tian sighed with emotion. The Rebirth Martial Emperor had experienced 2 lifetimes after all, but even then, he actually had never heard of descendants of saint beasts. He could imagine how mysterious those saint beasts were. Saint beast. I can tell it isn't an ordinary beast just from how it's called. Duan Ling Tian thought in his heart. Then he asked the little gold mouse about the saint beasts. Unexpectedly, even the little gold mouse herself didn't know. She only knew that her jade-eyed heavenly mouse family was a descendant of saint beasts. As for what saint beasts were, she knew completely nothing. Big brother Ling Tian, I'm going to speed up. The little gold mouse's voice transmission entered into Duan Ling Tian's ears, causing him to shudder and hurriedly stabilize his figure. Swoosh. In the next moment, the little gold mouse sped up to the limit, seeming to transform into a gold light that flashed past the horizon. Everywhere the gold light passed, over 1,000 ancient mammoth silhouettes dashed out following it, and a narrow and long path in the sky was opened up between the clouds and mist that covered the sky. The path in the sky gradually closed and didn't leave any traces behind. Truly efficient. Duan Ling Tian lay on the fluffy back of the little gold mouse, feeling incredibly comfortable as if laying on the sofa from his previous life. Although the little gold mouse's speed didn't increase to the limit, it was still almost 10 times faster than the Sun Eagle's full speed, and it saved him quite a lot of time. Big brother Ling Tian, there's a city ahead. Let's go look for a restaurant to eat. The little gold mouse had carried Duan Ling Tian and flown for half a day. She seemed as if she'd made a discovery, and her body that was like a small hill plunged downwards as she sent a voice transmission to Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian lowered his head to look down towards the ground. Indeed, on the ground ahead, an extremely ordinary city stood there, like an oasis in the desert that was especially conspicuous. You little gluttonous mouse, go down. Duan Ling Tian shook his head and smiled. Okay. The little gold mouse replied via voice transmission. Then her body that was like a small hill descended within a luxuriant forest outside the city. Duan Ling Tian left the back of the little gold mouse that was spacious like the ground, and his body flashed before steadily descending onto the ground. Swoosh. The little gold mouse's enormous body abruptly shrunk and once again transformed into a tiny little thing that flashed to stand on Duan Ling Tian's shoulder. Duan Ling Tian walked swiftly forward towards the distant city. This city occupied a vast area that wasn't inferior to the ancient city of Everlast. Duan Ling Tian entered the city, observing streams of people flow on the large streets in the city and wagons forming long lines like dragons that never stopped flowing. Squeak, squeak. The little gold mouse was unwilling to hide under Duan Ling Tian's sleeve, and she stood on Duan Ling Tian's shoulder as she curiously sized up everything before her. The pair of one man, one mouse, although stranger, didn't attract the attention of others. Duan Ling Tian noticed as well that there was no lack of martial artists that brought along fierce beasts amongst the passing pedestrians. In next to no time, Duan Ling Tian saw a restaurant appear ahead, and his gaze lit up. Little gold, let's go eat in this restaurant. Okay. The little gold mouse's voice transmission entered into Duan Ling Tian's ears, as she was extremely excited. Duan Ling Tian entered the restaurant, and he could see that the restaurant was almost fully seated. Fortunately, a table of customers had just finished eating nearby Duan Ling Tian, and they stood up and left. My luck isn't bad. Duan Ling Tian's eyes lit up. Swoosh. Whereas the little gold mouse that stood atop his shoulder directly flashed out instead and descended onto the table, right when Duan Ling Tian wasn't even a step away from the table before him. Huh, my luck isn't bad. There just happens to be an empty table. A rather sharp voice sounded out, and something flashed before Duan Ling Tian's eyes. Then he saw a young man who possessed a skinny figure that was like a bag of bones had beat him to it and sat before the table. Duan Ling Tian stopped his footstep and frowned slightly. Meanwhile, another young man of medium stature sat opposite the skinny young man. From the beginning until the end, the two have regarded Duan Ling Tian as nothing. Squeak, squeak. Meanwhile, the little gold mouse furiously looked at the two young men as she bared her claws and brandished her fangs. But the fluffy and chubby little gold mouse acting fierce had no deterrent force whatsoever. What? Little mouse, you want to play with us? The skinny young man looked at the little gold mouse as he asked while laughing. He only thought that this was an ordinary pet mouse. Squeak, squeak. But the words of the skinny young man was like lighting a fuse to a bomb, and it completely enraged the little gold mouse. The little gold mouse swung her tails out, precisely striking the teacup on the table. Slap. Instantly, the teacup flew out, flashing straight for the skinny young man. Bang. The skinny young man wasn't prepared in the slightest and was hit straight on the face, and the remaining tea within the teacup splashed all over his face. Ha ha ha. The customers seated at the surrounding tables who saw this scene couldn't refrain from bursting into laughter. All right, little gold, let's go to a different restaurant. Seeing that the restaurant was packed, Duan Ling Tian looked at the little gold mouse and called out. He'd only just arrived here and didn't want to stir up trouble. Although he'd seen through the cultivations of these two young men and wasn't afraid of them, the little gold mouse's actions earlier had undoubtedly helped him vent his anger, causing the discontent in his heart to be completely gone. Squeak, squeak. Unexpectedly, the little gold mouse was unwilling to leave. She stood on the table in a human-like manner with her front paws crossed before her and looked at the skinny young man provocatively. Little mouse, you're courting death. The skinny young man was enraged. His hand was enveloped with roaring origin energy, seeming to transform into a fan that slapped downwards towards the little gold mouse. Above the skinny young man, 400 ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed into form. Third level of the nascent soul stage. Squeak. The little gold mouse lightly cried out. Then her tail flashed out like a bolt of lightning to intercept the palm strike the young man slapped down. Slap. The instant the little gold mouse's tail touched the skinny young man, he let out a shrill cry, and then a wave of sounds of bones breaking sounded out at almost the exact same instant. You're courting death. The skinny young man's companion, the other young man of medium stature, clearly never imagined that the little gold mouse had this sort of strength, and his face went grim as he attacked as well. This young man's strength was stronger than the skinny young man, and he was a 5th-level nascent soul stage martial artist. Unfortunately, this little strength was nothing before the little gold mouse, and he was directly swept flying by the little gold mouse's tail before crashing onto the ground. What a terrifying, fierce beast. I'm completely unable to see clearly exactly how many ancient mammoth silhouettes flashed in the sky atop this little gold mouse. A 3rd-level nascent soul stage martial artist and a 5th-level nascent soul stage martial artist weren't a match for it. Moreover, it seemed to have attacked so casually and smoothly. Its strength is at least at the 7th level of the nascent soul stage or above. The crowd of people in the restaurant sighed emotionally, and they all looked at the little gold mouse with gazes that contained slight burning desire, and many people looked at Duan Ling Tian with envious expressions. The two young men that were taught a lesson by the little gold mouse felt they'd lost face and left the restaurant in dejection. You little fellow. Duan Ling Tian shook his head and laughed, then sat down. At a nearby table, the eyes of a young woman that was around a little over 20 lit up. Such a cute and formidable little gold mouse. What? Little Lou, you like that mouse? The sword-shaped brows of the young man in embroidered clothes that sat opposite the young woman raised up, and his eyes emitted a trace of affection. The young girl spat out her tongue. I like it, but unfortunately, it has an owner already. Isn't that simple? The young man in embroidered clothes stood up and directly walked towards Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian had only just sat down and ordered some food from the attendant when he noticed the young man in embroidered clothes walking over. Before long, the young man in embroidered clothes glanced at Duan Ling Tian indifferently and asked, Hey, how much for that mouse of yours? His tone contained an unquestionable intent of command. Squeak, squeak. The little gold mouse glared at the young man in embroidered clothes, then bared her fangs and brandished her claws at him, and she was extremely infuriated. As for Duan Ling Tian, he completely couldn't be bothered to pay attention to the young man in embroidered clothing. He extended his hand to comb the hair of the little gold mouse and said with a light smile, Little Gold, you should change your irritable temper. You should be more ladylike. Do you understand? The little gold mouse couldn't help but turn to look at Duan Ling Tian when she heard this, and asked via voice transmission, Ladylike? What's ladylike? Ladylike is to possess a meek disposition and not lose your temper easily. For the sake of not allowing other people to discern that he was able to communicate with the little gold mouse, Duan Ling Tian intentionally replied via voice transmission. It's a female? Right at this moment, another young girl that was a little over 20 appeared by the side of the young man in embroidered clothes. The young woman had a delicate and pretty appearance, and although she couldn't be considered to be a first-rate beauty, she possessed good looks and aroused affection of others towards her. Presently, the young woman looked at the little gold mouse with a gaze filled with burning desire and yearning. Kid, I'm Chang Hui from the Phoenix Nest City's Chang clan. Name a price and sell this mouse to me. The young man in embroidered clothes looked at Duan Ling Tian as he spoke once again, and his gaze was condescending as he looked down at Duan Ling Tian. I'm not selling. Duan Ling Tian didn't even raise his head as he continued to comb the fur of the little gold mouse, and the little gold mouse's fur felt soft, and it was comfortable when touching it. Furthermore, the little gold mouse lay on the table in enjoyment, but its jade green eyes stared fixedly at the young man in embroidered clothes, and it seemed to contain slight rage mixed within. She was a descendant of a saint beast, a jade-eyed heavenly mouse. This human actually called her a mouse? If it wasn't for her recalled Duan Ling Tian asking her to be ladylike earlier, she would have swept her tails over long ago and directly swept this detestable human flying. What? You're not giving Chang Hui, face, and not giving my Chang clan face. Chang Hui's voice suddenly went low and heavy yet loud, and it spread throughout the entire restaurant. Instantly, the crowd of customers within the restaurant were all alarmed. He's the Chang clan's second young master, Chang Hui. I heard long ago that the second young master of the Chang clan is infatuated with the martial arts and possesses a cultivation at the 7th level of the nascent soul stage at a mere age of 29. I never expected to be able to see him in this restaurant. This young woman by his side, could it be that she's that fiancée of his, the Qian clan's third young miss, Qian Lu? She should be. When he saw the restaurant going into an uproar from a single sentence of Chang Hui's, Duan Ling Tian raised his head and glanced calmly at Chang Hui. Do you feel that making your identity conspicuous is able to satisfy your vanity and make me retreat after learning of your identity and sell her to you? I'll say it one last time. I'm not selling her. Duan Ling Tian's tone was resolute and firm. You. As Chang Hui got angry from embarrassment, the origin energy on his body surged, and the energy of heaven and earth roiled above him to converge into 1,100 ancient mammoth silhouettes in the end. 8th level nascent soul stage. The Chang clan's second young master has broken through again. The natural talent of the Chang clan's second young master is really monstrous. Besides the daughter of the city governor, I'm afraid no one in the younger generation of our Phoenix Nest City is able to compare with him. A 29-year-old 8th level nascent soul stage martial artist. Even in the entire Darkstone Empire, such natural talent can be considered to be one of the top in the mid-range of natural talents. The luck of the Chang clan is really good to possess such a genius in the martial Tao. The crowd of people within the restaurant were all shocked by the strength revealed by Chang Hui. What? Still want to use force? Duan Ling Tian remained unfazed as he glanced indifferently at Chang Hui. So what if I am? Chang Hui shouted out explosively. His origin energy roared as he raised his hand. Then it transformed into a white-colored serpent that coiled on his arm. Bang! He struck out with his fist. The sounds of air exploding continuously rose and fell as the white serpent flashed out to bite at Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian had a calm expression, as if he didn't take Chang Hui's punch seriously at all. But the hand he placed on the little gold mouse had already been withdrawn. Squeak! Suddenly, a sharp cry sounded out, causing the crowd of customers in the restaurant to go pale. Some customers with comparatively lower cultivations went ghastly pale, as if they'd suffered an extremely great blow. It was Little Gold's enraged cry. At the same time, Little Gold's tail swept out once again, and the air in the surroundings seemed to be completely sucked out as it moved to meet Chang Hui's descending fist. The white-colored serpent that flowed out from Chang Hui's fist was crushed by Little Gold's tail, and not only that, Little Gold's tail quickly descended onto Chang Hui's fist. Slap! An enormous slap sounded out, and accompanying it was a shrill cry and the clear sounds of bones cracking and exploding. Subsequently, dazzling fresh blood sprayed out from Chang Hui's fist, transforming into numerous beautiful red roses in the air that slowly descended. Bang! As for Chang Hui, he was directly swept flying by the little gold mouse's tail. His fist had completely vanished, and only half a mangled arm remained. Obviously, Chang Hui's fist, including half his arm, was directly crushed by the little gold mouse's tail swing. Demon Beast. It's a demon beast. The gazes of people in the restaurant stared blankly at the 2,000 ancient mammoth silhouettes that were gradually dispersing atop the little gold mouse, and they were completely dumbstruck. Void-prying stage demon beast. Chang Hui, who stopped the bleeding from his mangled arm with great difficulty, had a ghastly pale face when he saw to his astonishment the 2,000 ancient mammoth silhouettes that were gradually vanishing, and his eyes revealed terror. He'd never imagined that this mouse was actually a formidable demon beast. Brother Hui. Qian Lu's beautiful face went pale as she hurriedly went over to support Chang Hui up, and the gaze she had when she looked at the little gold mouse again was completely different. Demon beast. This cute little gold mouse was actually a demon beast that crippled an arm of her fiancé with only a swing of its tail. Little Lu, let's go. Chang Hui took a deep breath before leaving with Qian Lu. When he left, a sense of icy coldness and terror arose within the gaze Chang Hui shot at Duan Ling Tian. This young man had a demon beast by his side and was obviously of extraordinary background. After Chang Hui and Qian Lu left, the gazes of the people in the restaurant all moved away from Duan Ling Tian and the little gold mouse, as they were extremely afraid that continuing to look would cause them to suffer a calamity. That was a demon beast. An existence comparable to a void-prying stage expert. It wasn't something they could offend. Peace at long last. Duan Ling Tian's brows raised, then looked at the little gold mouse and said with a light smile, "Little gold, you did well." Squeak, squeak. The jade-green eyes of the little gold mouse emitted a sheen of delight when she was praised by Duan Ling Tian. Before long, his food had arrived. After Duan Ling Tian casually ate a little bit, he concentrated on watching the little gold mouse gulp down her food. The little fellow's body seemed small, yet she was a glutton, and it caused many people in the restaurant to click their tongues in surprise. Suddenly, a wave of discussion entered Duan Ling Tian's ears. Quickly finish your food. We're still able to make it to watch the battles before the groom search competition for the city governor's daughter. The strength of the city governor's daughter is too strong. Not to mention a young genius below the age of 25. I'm afraid there isn't even anyone amongst the young geniuses below the age of 30 of our Darkstone Empire that are able to be a match for the city governor's daughter. Today is the last day of the groom search competition, and practically all the young geniuses around our Phoenix Nest city have rushed over. However, in my opinion, I'm afraid no one will be able to defeat the city governor's daughter even on this last day to become the son-in-law of the city governor. The Lord City Governor's requirements are too high, defeating his daughter at an age below 25 years old. Even in the entire Darkstone Empire and the Darkhan Dynasty, I'm afraid such a person is an existence that's akin to phoenix feathers and Chelan horns. The two people who in discussion finished their food hastily before leaving. Groom search competition? Duan Ling Tian shook his head and smiled as he never imagined that the circumstances that would only appear in wuxian novels from his previous life would actually be encountered by him. In next to no time, a few more people had walked into the restaurant, and they sighed with emotion as they walked. I wonder exactly what level of cultivation the city governor's daughter is at. Today, that young man around the age of 24 who possessed a cultivation at the 4th level of the nascent soul stage was actually defeated by her. That young man is the strongest person who's participated in the groom search competition until now. I never imagined that he was still defeated by the city governor's daughter in one move. The city governor's daughter adjusts her strength based on her opponent and seemed to have not used her full strength until now. Looks like no one is able to get the beauty. Beauty? According to my knowledge, the city governor's daughter always wears a veil. Could it be that you've seen her appearance? We don't know if she's a beauty or a beast. So what if she's ugly? Being able to become the son-in-law of the city governor and even obtain the soul transformation fruit is undoubtedly a good fortune. Soul transformation fruit. Duan Ling Tian initially didn't care about it much, but when he heard one of the people mention the soul transformation fruit, he had an elated expression as he stood up abruptly. Big brother. Duan Ling Tian looked at the middle-aged man that spoke earlier and asked courteously, "Did you say soul transformation fruit earlier?" The middle-aged man nodded when he saw Duan Ling Tian was so polite, and he said with a calm expression, "Exactly, it's precisely the soul transformation fruit." What? Little brother, you're interested in that soul transformation fruit? Yes. Duan Ling Tian nodded, then asked, "I heard Big Brother say earlier that there's a way to obtain the soul transformation fruit." The middle-aged man nodded. Exactly. The city governor had held a groom search competition for that unmarried daughter of his for these past 10 days. Today is the last day. So long as you're able to defeat the city governor's daughter in the groom search competition, then not only would you be able to become the city governor's son-in-law, you'll even be able to obtain the soul transformation fruit. Supposedly, this soul transformation fruit is a great thing. If it's consumed by an inscription master, then it's even able to allow the inscription master's spiritual force to raise a level. As he finished speaking, the middle-aged man sized up Duan Ling Tian. Little brother, based on your age, you're only slightly older than that city governor's daughter. However, I advise you to put away this thought. Although you fit the conditions for the city governor's daughter's groom search competition, the city governor's daughter has already revealed a cultivation at the 5th level of the nascent soul stage. Moreover, she seemed to be holding back. Thank you, big brother. Duan Ling Tian thanked the middle-aged man, then tossed down some silver before leaving the restaurant in a hurry with the little gold mouse. Big brother Ling Tian, I haven't finished eating. The little gold mouse's voice transmission contained slight displeasure. I'll let you eat until you're satisfied later. Right now I have some important things to do. Duan Ling Tian said in a hurry. After leaving the restaurant, Duan Ling Tian found a passerby and asked the location for the groom search competition before hurrying over. What city governor's son-in-law? He wasn't interested in the slightest. He was interested in that soul transformation fruit. If it said that ordinary spirit fruits can only be chanced upon by luck and not sought by martial artists, then the soul transformation fruit was even harder to come by. The soul transformation fruit was a type of spirit fruit capable of increasing the level of the soul, and within the description of spirit fruits within Cloud Continent, it wasn't even at 1%. Although my cultivation has increased quite a bit, my spiritual force seemed to have completely fallen into a bottleneck and hasn't been able to break through to the void prying stage for a long time. The groom search competition was carried out right outside the city governor's estate. When Duan Ling Tian arrived before the arena of the groom search competition, his mind was fluttering. His spiritual force has arrived at the breakthrough point between the nascent soul stage and the void prying stage long ago, yet he was unable to break through for a long time. He'd been at a loss and helpless because of this. Now, he'd seen the light of hope. If there really is a soul transformation fruit, then my soul will transform once I consume it and advance a level to the void prying stage. At that time, my spiritual force will become stronger once again, and I'll be able to inscribe even high-level inscriptions. As if he had a treasure mountain, but didn't have the tools to excavate it. This feeling had caused Duan Ling Tian to be displeased since the beginning. Groom search competition? Fun. Fun. Big brother Ling Tian, you want to marry that city governor's daughter? Aren't you afraid that big sister Ka-air and big sister Fei will get angry? The little gold mouse's voice transmission was filled with excitement, and as she finished speaking, it was as if she was anxious to see the world in disorder. Duan Ling Tian glared at the little gold mouse. I don't have any interest towards that city governor's daughter. I only want to obtain that soul transformation fruit. Ordinary spirit fruits were rare and priceless, but the soul transformation fruit was amongst the less than 1% of spirit fruits that were able to advance the soul, so it was even rarer. Presently, since Duan Ling Tian had encountered it, he wouldn't easily miss the opportunity. In next to no time, Duan Ling Tian had arrived at his destination. A high platform stood before the city governor's estate now, and it was incomparably spacious. It was precisely the groom search competition's arena. Streams of people surged nearby the arena in an intense bustle, and the sounds of shouting rose and fell continuously without end. The groom search competition is held for 10 days, and today is the last day. There actually isn't a single young genius under the age of 25 from our Phoenix Nest city or the surrounding tens of cities that is a match for the city governor's daughter. It's said that the city governor's daughter is merely 20 years of age. Possessing an unfathomable cultivation at the age of 20 is truly shocking. Up until today, people have only forced her to use a strength at the 5th level of the nascent soul stage. Yeah, even then, she seems to still be holding back. The crowd of people discussed animatedly before the city governor's estate. At this moment, atop the arena of the groom search competition, the mysterious daughter of the city governor stood there gracefully. Her pair of beautiful hands that were white like jade were exposed in the air, and a fiery red dress beautifully emphasized her beautiful and charming figure that caused one to be unable to refrain from a myriad of daydreams. On the face of the city governor's daughter was a fiery red veil that only revealed a pair of beautiful eyes that were like autumn water, and her lovely hair that drooped down were like black strands of Babylon willow as they lightly swung with the wind. Even if one was within the sea of people, she still gave one a calm and peaceful feeling. Although I can't see her appearance clearly, just by this disposition, it's sufficient to cause one to be interested. I presume the appearance beneath the veil of a woman with such a disposition wouldn't be bad. Duan Ling Tian was shocked in his heart. Based solely on disposition, no one amongst the women by Duan Ling Tian's side or the women he knew were able to compare to this city governor's daughter. Under his curiosity, Duan Ling Tian's spiritual force extended out, wanting to pry into the secrets of this city governor's daughters. According to the information he'd obtained, the city governor's daughter was only 20 and possessed an extraordinary cultivation, and up until this point, she'd already revealed a cultivation at the 5th level of the nascent soul stage, yet she seemed to still be holding back. At the same time that Duan Ling Tian's spiritual force flashed out, he sighed emotionally in his heart. My cultivation's advancement is already considered to be quick. Within the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom, it could be considered to be a speed that towered above all. I never imagined that I'd actually encounter a genius in the martial Tao whose cultivation's advancement is even swifter than mine in this remote city of the Darkstone Empire. If the cultivation of the city governor's daughter wasn't piled up solely by relying on spirit fruits, then her natural talent would absolutely not be inferior to his. Suddenly, Duan Ling Tian's spiritual force hadn't even touched the city governor's daughter when he couldn't help but be astounded in his heart. Because at this moment, an even stronger spiritual force seemed to have noticed his spiritual force and directly pressed over. Inscription Master. Duan Ling Tian's pupils constricted as he never expected that there would be such a formidable inscription master by the city governor's daughter's side. The strength of the spiritual force of this inscription master wasn't just a level above his. Instantly, Duanling Tian didn't dare hesitate as he hurriedly withdrew his spiritual force. That formidable spiritual force seemed as if it had no intention of making a fuss over it with Duanling Tian, and didn't pursue him after Duanling Tian's spiritual force withdrew. Fortunately, he showed mercy. Otherwise, my soul would surely be heavily injured. Duanling Tian shuddered in fear, and at the same time, he realized his own rashness. According to the memories of the Rebirth Martial Emperor, he knew deeply that even inscription masters didn't dare rashly use their spiritual force to spy on others. This was a taboo. Whereas all along his journey in cultivation, he's never encountered any formidable inscription masters. So he'd tossed the portion of the Rebirth Martial Emperor's memories that was about this taboo to the back of his head. Now that he'd left the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom and was at the Darkstone Empire, he'd encountered a truly formidable inscription master. Duanling Tian's gaze started to sweep the crowd of people, wanting to find the owner of the formidable spiritual force that extended out earlier. But no matter how he searched, he was unable to notice a trace of that person. It seemed as if that person had appeared out of thin air. Could it be that this inscription master has come for the soul transformation fruit as well? Duanling Tian's heart jerked as a bad premonition arose in his heart. In the sky above the groom search competition arena outside the city governor's estate, there were two figures standing in the sky behind the clouds and mist. One of the two was a middle-aged man in a crimson-red robe with gold edges. The middle-aged man had a firm expression, emitting a dignified disposition as he stood, and it shapelessly brought a type of oppressive feeling to others. Beside the middle-aged man, an old man past 70 stood in the air. Interesting. The old man in gray clothes had a calm expression, and his muddy eyes abruptly lit up as if he'd noticed something new. Elder Kong, you've noticed something? The middle-aged man asked curiously. Eldest young master, perhaps. The destined person of the young miss has appeared. The gray-clothed old man spoke slowly with an unfathomable expression. Elder Kong, what you mean is... The middle-aged man's eyes squinted and had an astounded expression. In the groom search competition's arena, the city governor's daughter stood there silently. Whereas although there were many people in the surroundings, most of them came to watch the show, and no one ascended the arena after a long time. Let me experience the strength of the city governor's daughter. Along with an explosive shout, a swift figure flashed to ascend to the arena. This was a young man around the age of 25 to 26, with a handsome appearance and arrogance mixed between his brows. Your age is past the limit. Get down. The city governor's daughter hadn't even reacted when the azure-clothed old woman standing at the side of the arena raised her head indifferently and glanced at the young man. Aye. The young man opened his mouth, yet he hadn't finished speaking. Bang. An enormous bang sounded out, and an aged figure had appeared where the young man stood earlier. In the blink of an eye, everyone present saw that the azure-clothed old woman that stood at the side of the arena was suddenly standing at the spot the young man was standing earlier. As for the young man, he was directly blasted down the arena. The groom search competition of My Young Miss is restricted to young talents below the age of 25. Don't come make a fool of yourself if you're above 25 years of age. I can discern if your age is over or not with a glance. Don't try your luck. The old woman spoke slowly with a tone that contained incomparable confidence mixed within. However, no one present dared doubt what the old woman said. So fast, the eyes of Duanling Tian, who stood at the side of the arena, squinted. The old woman's speed was shockingly swift. Although he was curious of the old woman's strength, Duanling Tian didn't dare use his spiritual force to detect it. Could it be that the formidable spiritual force from before came from this old woman? Duanling Tian couldn't refrain from thinking in his heart. He'd noticed the old woman that stood beside the arena long ago, but he only thought that she was an ordinary servant of the city governor's estate. He had never imagined that the old woman had hid her ability. Allow me. A light-footed figure descended into the arena. It was a young man around the age of 23 or 24. Swoosh. The young man looked at the city governor's daughter that stood in the distance. Then he stomped on the ground, transforming into a gust of wind as he took the initiative to gain the advantage in the battle. Whoosh. In the air, 600 ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed into form, then dashed out, in a formidable array. Swish! A 3-foot-long blade appeared in the young man's hand. Then his origin energy rages as he swept it out horizontally. Instantly, another 168 ancient mammoth silhouettes appeared beside the 600 ancient mammoth silhouettes. 4th level nascent soul stage. Grade 7 spirit weapon. This sword strike contained the strength of 768 ancient mammoths. The hearts of the people present couldn't help but float up to their throats when they saw the young man's sword about to touch the city governor's daughter. Swoosh! In practically an instant, as if a cool breeze blew past, the city governor's daughter had finally made a move. She casually swung her sleeve, and her sleeve instantly expanded, containing roaring origin energy as it swept towards the young man. Bang! Without any suspense, the young man and his sword were directly blasted down from the arena. At the same time, above the city governor's daughter, 800 ancient mammoth silhouettes could be vaguely seen. At this moment, the city governor's daughter didn't utilize a spirit weapon. 6th level of the nascent soul stage. My God, the city governor's daughter was really concealing her cultivation. She's actually a 6th level nascent soul stage martial artist. A 20-year-old 6th level nascent soul stage martial artist? There seems to have never been an appearance of a person with such natural talent in the history of our Darkstone Empire, right? Even if it's throughout the entire Darkhan dynasty, there are very few monstrous geniuses in the martial Dao like her. The surrounding crowd of spectators were in an uproar, as all of them were shocked by the cultivation displayed by the city governor's daughter. 6th level of the nascent soul stage at the age of 20? A slightly surprised expression appeared on Duan Ling Tian's face. Was this city governor's daughter really only 20? Big brother Ling Tian, her natural talent seems to be better than yours. The little gold mouse's voice transmission entered into Duan Ling Tian's ears. Duan Ling Tian's brows raised, and his eyes contained slight astonishment mixed within. A 6th level nascent soul stage martial artist at the age of 20. Solely in terms of cultivation, it was indeed stronger than his. As for natural talent, Duan Ling Tian neither agreed nor disagreed. His natural talent could be considered as the limit of natural talent for martial artists on Cloud Continent. Even if the natural talent of the city governor's daughter was any higher, it would at most be on par with him. Whereas his natural talent was only unearthed by the 10,000-year stalactite milked 3 years ago, so his starting point was much later than the city governor's daughter. After the city governor's daughter revealed a cultivation at the 6th level of the nascent soul stage, no one ascended the arena to get a beating anymore. Time slowly flowed by. The groom search competition will officially come to an end in half an hour, the azure-clothed old woman said indifferently. Looks like no one is able to defeat the city governor's daughter and get the girl. There's also that soul transformation fruit. Supposedly, one can consume it even if one isn't an inscription master. Once consumed, the soul will obtain a huge advancement and would even be able to affect comprehension ability to a certain extent. The crowd discussed animatedly. Big brother Ling Tian, are you still not going? The little gold mouse's voice transmission entered into Duan Ling Tian's ears. Duan Ling Tian's brows raised. Then he stomped with his feet to leap up and descend onto the groom search competition's arena. For a time, the combination of one man and one mouse attracted the attention of everyone. Another person has gone up to seek a beating. It's even a young man that looks to be 22 at most. Isn't this young man that person we saw in the restaurant earlier? It seems to be so. That little gold mouse on his shoulder isn't simple. It's a formidable demon beast. That Chong clan young master, Chong Hui, had his arm crippled from a single swing of the tail by it. That harmless little gold mouse is actually a void-prying stage demon beast. In next to no time, along with the explosive revelations of the people who had seen Duan Ling Tian in the restaurant earlier, everyone knew that the little gold mouse that stood on Duan Ling Tian's shoulder was a demon beast. Demon beast. The azure-clothed old woman heard the discussions of the crowd. Then she looked at Duan Ling Tian and said indifferently, The rules of our city governor's estate's groom search competition is to disallow the usage of any other external sources of strength besides spirit weapons. Squeak, squeak. The little gold mouse brandished her claws and bared her fangs at the old woman when she heard the old woman's words. Then the little gold mouse turned her body around and shook her, but at the azure-clothed old woman. This caused the azure-clothed old woman to be stunned. The surrounding crowd of people were dumbstruck as well. This is really a demon beast? It has simply destroyed the lofty image of demon beasts in my heart. This little gold mouse doesn't look like a demon beast no matter how I look at it. It's instead like a pet. Meanwhile, the beautiful watery eyes of the city governor's daughter that had remained motionless all along looked at the little gold mouse by Duan Ling Tian's side, and her willow-shaped brows slightly raised. What a cute little gold mouse. The city governor's daughter spoke with a gentle and moving voice that caused one to feel as if bathing in spring breeze. Don't worry, she won't attack. Duan Ling Tian nodded to the azure-clothed old woman, then looked at the city governor's daughter and smiled lightly. May I know young miss name? Wanna know? Then defeat me first. The city governor's daughter looked at Duan Ling Tian and said slowly. Her voice was airy, as if it reverberated out from a gorge. Duan Ling Tian was stunned. Then he nodded and said, Young miss. I wonder, can I not marry you if I defeat you? I only want the soul transformation fruit. Is that all right? When Duan Ling Tian said these words, he felt slightly awkward. After all, these words were slightly hurtful. But he had to say it, as the reason he'd ascended the groom search competition's arena wasn't the city governor's daughter, but the soul transformation fruit. The soul transformation fruit was too important and too difficult to come by for him. He wasn't willing to miss the opportunity. Along with Duan Ling Tian words entering the ears of everyone, the scene went deathly silent. After a short moment, the surrounding spectators were in a complete uproar. F***K? I didn't hear wrongly, right? This kid actually said he only wants the soul transformation fruit and not the city governor's daughter. Is he mad? Although the soul transformation fruit is difficult to come by, but how is it better than the city governor's daughter? Marrying the city governor's daughter would mean that he would have the chance to soar into the sky. Madman! Madman! The crowd was in an uproar as they were all shocked by Duan Ling Tian's words. Of course, there were also some people that felt Duan Ling Tian was too arrogant and conceited. This kid looks to be around the age of 22, but he actually dares speak such arrogant words. Does he really think he can defeat the city governor's daughter? Exactly. If he's unable to defeat the city governor's daughter, then what he said now is completely useless. He's too arrogant. High above in the air, the red-robed middle-aged man couldn't help but be stunned and had a strange expression. Elder Kong, I slightly believe it now. Perhaps he really is the man in Tian Wu's destiny. He only came for the soul transformation fruit. The temptation of the soul transformation fruit is too strong for an inscription master. Elder Kong nodded. His spiritual force is only a fraction away from stepping into the void prying stage. It's still the first time that I've seen a little fellow at such a young age possess such a formidable spiritual force. Elder Kong seems to be extremely interested in him. The red-robed middle-aged man laughed. Elder Kong didn't reply, yet his eyes that flickered with bright lights were sufficient to reveal his thoughts. In the groom search competition's arena. Kid, aren't you ashamed for talking big? The azure-clothed old woman's face sank, and her fierce gaze swept towards Duan Ling Tian. If you're here to make trouble, then get down. Duan Ling Tian was slightly embarrassed. People can't even speak the truth in this age. If you want the soul transformation fruit, then it will depend on if you have the ability. The city governor's daughter let out a shout in a gentle voice. If you want the soul transformation fruit, then it will depend on if you have the ability. The city governor's daughter's shout seemed to contain slight rage mixed within. Even a gentle person would get enraged. How could the pampered daughter of the city governor not become enraged when she was looked down on by a man? Whoosh. Influenced by her extreme rage, her gentle and graceful figure flashed, seeming to transform into a fairy within a fire, like a flaming phoenix, as she directly flashed towards Duan Ling Tian. Swoosh. Her delicate jade-like hand unfolded into a palm, whistling out as she attacked out in anger, and her vast origin energy raged and skyrocketed as it approached Duan Ling Tian. This palm strike contained the strength of 800 ancient mammoths. This kid is in for a hard time. Right when most of the surrounding spectators had similar thoughts in their hearts, Duan Ling Tian made his move. He stood on the spot, unmoving like a mountain, and pushed out a palm that carried the might to split mountains to directly meet the city governor's daughter's palm, strike head-on. In an instant, 711 ancient mammoth silhouettes appeared in the sky above Duan Ling Tian, and they dashed out with an imposing aura that shot into the skies like a rainbow. 5th level nascent soul stage. A trace of surprise appeared within her watery eyes, as she obviously had never expected that Duan Ling Tian would be able to possess this cultivation at such an age. But as far as she was concerned, since Duan Ling Tian wanted to exchange blows with her with the strength of 711 ancient mammoths, then it was simply asking for trouble. Watch out. Duan Ling Tian naturally was able to guess the thoughts of the city governor's daughter when he saw the trace of disdain in her eyes, and he voiced out a warning right before their palms collided. Shameless boasting. The city governor's daughter shouted out in a tender voice. Her graceful figure flashed like a ball of flame that was sweeping out to envelope towards Duan Ling Tian, as if wanting to swallow Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian's eyes narrowed when he saw the city governor's daughter approaching menacingly. Quake energy. Immediately, the origin energy on the palm Duan Ling Tian slapped out started vibrating with a frequency that grew higher and higher. In next to no time, his quake energy had reached the limit. Finally, Duan Ling Tian and the city governor's daughter's palm collided with each other. Bang! An enormous bang sounded out. The collision of the terrifying origin energy caused the surrounding air to freeze, and then the airflow flew out, transforming into circle after circle of ripples that swept out. Not only that, dust and dirt suffused the air on the arena, and it practically enveloped Duan Ling Tian and the city governor's daughter completely, causing them to be vaguely visible. But even then, the surrounding crowd of spectators still watched the scene before them with concentration. As far as they were concerned, although the strength of the young man in the arena now wasn't bad and possessed a cultivation at the 5th level of the nascent soul stage, the city governor's daughter was a 6th level nascent soul stage martial artist, surpassing his cultivation by an entire level. As far as they were concerned, this collision of palms was without suspense, and the city governor's daughter would surely have the upper hand. But unfortunately, sometimes imagination is tremendously different from reality, and the following scene caused them to be completely dumbstruck. Let go. They heard an explosive shout from the arena, and the body of the city governor's daughter shook. Then she actually swiftly retreated backwards. How could this be possible? The surrounding crowd of spectators looked at the scene before them with expressions of disbelief. Although the strength of the young man was strange, as he possessed an extra 11 ancient mammoths worth of strength than an ordinary martial artist at the 5th level of the nascent soul stage. But even then, the strength contained within his palm strike was still the strength of 89 ancient mammoths lower than the city governor's daughter, right? How could he gain the upper hand? Are they acting? Many people couldn't help but think like this in their hearts. Presently, amongst the people present, besides Duan Ling Tian, it was probably only the city governor's daughter herself that was the most clear of what happened earlier. The city governor's daughter looked at Duan Ling Tian in disbelief and hesitated for a moment before saying, "You used an inscription?" Inscription? The words of the city governor's daughter entered into the ears of the surrounding spectators and caused an uproar. F***K. This kid actually used an inscription? No wonder he was able to defeat a stronger cultivation with a weaker cultivation and force the city governor's daughter to retreat in a head-on exchange. So it turns out that he used an inscription. Get down. Shameless scum, like you have no qualifications to continue staying on the arena. Get down. For a time, Duan Ling Tian had become the target of all and aroused public wrath. Humph. Right at this moment, a cold snort was like a thunderclap as it spread out from the arena and entered into the ears of everyone. For a time, the surroundings of the arena was completely deathly silent. She's ignorant. But could it be that all of you are ignorant as well? Subsequently, Duan Ling Tian glanced indifferently at the surrounding crowd of spectators with an expression of disdain. When did all of you see me using an inscription? Besides that, if I did use an inscription, it would naturally leave behind traces of inscription utilization. Earlier, did any one of you see or even sense a trace of an inscription being used? The surrounding crowd of spectators instantly fell silent. He didn't use an inscription. Right at this moment, the azure-clothed old woman at the side of the arena glanced deeply at Duan Ling Tian as she spoke slowly. Instantly, the surrounding crowd of spectators didn't have anything further to say. Thank you, Senior. Senior, you have good eyesight, unlike some people. Duan Ling Tian nodded to the azure-clothed old woman, then looked at the city governor's daughter, who wore a fiery red dress, and seemed to be referring to something with his words. You. The city governor's daughter was angered to the point she stomped her feet. Then she raised her hand, and a crimson red whip appeared. Flowing lights flashed around the whip, as if there were strands of burning flames blazing atop it. Along with the city governor's daughter flashing towards Duan Ling Tian once again, origin energy flashed on the whip in her hand. Above her, another 380 ancient mammoth silhouettes appeared beside the existing 800 ancient mammoth silhouettes. Swoosh! The whip tore through the sky, seeming to have transformed into a venomous serpent that fiercely bit at Duan Ling Tian. Grade 5 Spirit Weapon. Duan Ling Tian's pupils constricted. Whirlwind. Duan Ling Tian didn't dare hesitate as the origin energy in his entire body exploded out and quake energy emerged, and he seemed to have transformed into a gust of wind as he barely dodged that whip that approached like a venomous serpent that bit towards him. This whip contained the strength of 1,180 ancient mammoths. A grade 5 spirit whip that amplifies almost 48% of strength. What exactly is the background of this Phoenix Nest city's governor? At the same time that he dodged, Duan Ling Tian was greatly astounded in his heart. After all, even if it was within the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom, the number of grade 5 spirit weapons could be counted with the fingers on one's hands. Even if it was the 7-star sword sect that he was a part of, the sect that was known as the #1 sect in the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom, only possessed a single grade 5 spirit sword that was passed down from generation to generation. Now, daughter of the Phoenix Nest city's governor had casually withdrawn a grade 5 spirit weapon, and it caused Duan Ling Tian to be speechless. Flower rain. In next to no time, Duan Ling Tian heard a light shout, and it was the city governor's daughter that had pursued him in attack. Whip images that covered the sky flashed past the sky, seeming to have transformed into countless images of flowers that enveloped towards Duan Ling Tian like a rain. What a profound martial skill. Duan Ling Tian's eyes squinted. He was able to sense the whip images in the hands of the county governor's daughter had practically locked his position, and it caused him to have no place to dodge. These whip images that covered the sky seemed to have transformed into a heaven-encompassing net that enclosed him from top to bottom. Duan Ling Tian had encountered similar martial skills in the past. However, those martial skills had flaws to take advantage of, after all. Whereas unless Duan Ling Tian was able to dig a hole in the ground and crawl into it, otherwise, it would be difficult for him to charge out of the enclosed area of the whip images that covered the sky from the martial skill that the city governor's daughter utilized now. The surroundings of the arena was completely silent, and the gazes of everyone stared fixedly at the scene before them as they were extremely afraid they would miss a detail. Whoosh. Since he was unable to dodge, Duan Ling Tian didn't dodge any longer, and the violet myrtle flexible sword appeared in his hand. Subsequently, origin energy violently arose on the violet myrtle flexible sword in his hand. In the sky, another 299 ancient mammoth silhouettes appeared beside the existing 711 ancient mammoth silhouettes. The violet myrtle flexible sword, a grade 6 spirit sword. Due to it being refined by Duan Ling Tian himself, and he struck great luck during refinement, it was able to amplify his strength by 42%. At this moment, the strength of 1,010 ancient mammoths was condensed on the violet myrtle flexible sword in Duan Ling Tian's hands. However, even then, Duan Ling Tian's strength was still quite inferior when compared to the city governor's daughter. Even with his quake energy, it was difficult for him to surmount such a huge gap. Your spirit sword isn't bad, but unfortunately, you're bound to lose today. The voice of the city governor's daughter contained a trace of chilliness. The whip in her hand flashed out, and the whip images that covered the sky followed the whip like a shadow, surrounding Duan Ling Tian and striking Duan Ling Tian's body like drops of rainwater. Are you that confident? Duan Ling Tian's face revealed a brilliant smile. Instantly, within the origin energy that raged atop the violet myrtle flexible sword in Duan Ling Tian's hands, a strand of strange aura had suddenly emerged. At the instant the strange aura emerged, the energy of heaven and earth above Duan Ling Tian roiled once more. That is, the surrounding crowd of spectators were dumbstruck. Wind force. The pupils of the azure-clothed old woman standing at the side of the arena couldn't help but constrict. Wind force. Even the red-clothed middle-aged man high above in the sky and the gray-clothed old man beside him were both slightly moved now. They were able to discern that it was genuine wind force and not a wind force seed. This little fellow really frightens people to death. The gray-clothed old man couldn't help but sigh with emotion. In the sky, the energy of heaven and earth surged, and it once again gave Duan Ling Tian another 200 ancient mammoth silhouettes. Instantly, the strength of Duan Ling Tian's sword increased to the limit. The strength of 1,210 ancient mammoths, completely crushing the strength of 1,180 ancient mammoths possessed under the gazes of everyone present. Duan Ling Tian, who was within the whip images that covered the sky, had finally moved. Sword drawing arts. His sword swung out like a bolt of lightning, stabbing towards a side of the whip images. Duan Ling Tian's spiritual force had already seen through the martial skill, flower rain, of the city governor's daughter, and he'd instantly found the true location of the whip and stabbed towards it. Dragon's finishing touch. Duan Ling Tian instantly fused the high-grade profound rank martial skill, Dragon's finishing touch, that was at the perfection stage, into the sword strike. Clang. A light clang resounded out as the origin energies collided with each other. At this moment, Duan Ling Tian seemed to have already seen the scene of the city governor's daughter forced to retreat once again. That is, however, instantly, Duan Ling Tian noticed that a strand of energy had suddenly surged out from the point the tip of his violet myrtle flexible sword struck. He clearly saw that in the sky above the city governor's daughter, another 120 ancient mammoth silhouettes appeared beside the existing 1,180 ancient mammoth silhouettes. The 120 ancient mammoth silhouettes that had appeared suddenly changed into 80 plus in the blink of an eye. Then they slowly increased. 90 ancient mammoths. 100 ancient mammoths, ceaselessly fluctuating with a peak of 127 ancient mammoth silhouettes. Force seed. Duan Ling Tian's pupils constricted, but when his gaze encountered the spirit whip in the hands of the city governor's daughter, he noticed instead that the origin energy flowing around the spirit whip seemed to have a strand of a strange fiery aura. Duan Ling Tian was extremely familiar with this aura. It was the aura of flames. Fire force. It's a fire force seed. Duan Ling Tian distinguished the ability that the city governor's daughter had utilized now. In the next moment, Duan Ling Tian's face sank. He felt an enormous force pour into the spirit sword in his hand from the spirit whip. She was taking the initiative to attack and gain the advantage. Quake energy. Even when Duan Ling Tian used quake energy in time, he was only able to neutralize a portion of the energy. Whirlwind. Following the direction of this energy, Duan Ling Tian stomped on the ground and flashed out like a gust of wind, then stood in the distance as he looked at the city governor's daughter from afar. If I knew she'd comprehended a fire force seed, I would have utilized quake energy at the beginning. Duan Ling Tian sighed inwardly, and he felt it was a slight pity. Duan Ling Tian originally thought that even if he didn't utilize quake energy, his strength was sufficient to crush this city governor's daughter. But the facts prove that he'd underestimated the city governor's daughter. The city governor's daughter was a genius in the martial Tao that had comprehended a fire force seed. In terms of natural talent, she wasn't inferior to him. In terms of comprehension ability, she was the best amongst all the younger generation he'd met. Even the demonic Lotus Blade Sex Saber young master from the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom was far inferior to her. If Duanling Tian had utilized his quake energy at the limit when he struck out with his sword, he'd already have crushed the city governor's daughter and obtained the final victory. Unfortunately, he didn't utilize it. Even when he utilized quake energy in time later on and neutralized a portion of the energy from the city governor's daughter, yet he was also unable to counter. Increasing the quake energy to the limit required a process. Earlier, there was utterly no time for Duanling Tian to gradually develop his quake energy to the limit. On the groom search competition arena, Duanling Tian and the city governor's daughter stood facing each other. Origin energy still raged and leaped about on the violet myrtle flexible sword in Duanling Tian's hand. Above him, 1,210 lifelike ancient mammoth silhouettes accumulated force while waiting to be deployed. Origin energy similarly coiled around the spirit whip in the hands of the city governor's daughter. Whereas above her, the number of ancient mammoth silhouettes fluctuated extremely unstably between 1,260 plus to 1,307. Moreover, there was no indication that the Fire Force seed would be die out. The Fire Force seed of this city governor's daughter is practically at the peak of what is able to be comprehended by a nascent soul stage martial artist. To a certain extent, she's already able to completely control the Fire Force seed, and it wouldn't occasionally die out like the Saber Young Master's Saber Force seed. Duanling Tian thought in his heart, and he felt heartfelt admiration towards the city governor's daughter before him. A 20-year-old girl possessing such ability was simple monstrous. Monstrous to the point it struck terror in the hearts of others. When Duanling Tian stared at the city governor's daughter, she looked at him as well. Is it him? The city governor's daughter's pair of beautiful eyes emitted a trace of wonder, and besides that, it also concealed a trace of embarrassment that was similar to a young girl beginning to think about love. Of course, this was something that Duanling Tian didn't notice. When Duanling Tian and the city governor's daughter stood apart in confrontation, the surroundings of the arena went into an uproar. I really never expected that this young man was a freak. Yeah, I feel that his strength isn't much inferior to the city governor's daughter. But his strength seems to still be inferior to the city governor's daughter. So what if it's inferior? Could it be that you've forgotten that his strength was inferior to the city governor's daughter earlier, but he still forced her to retreat? For a time, numerous burning gazes descended onto Duanling Tian. Elder Kong, the strength of this little fellow seems to be slightly strange. Besides that, his origin energy seems to be able to produce some type of vibration with extremely high frequency, and the feeling it gives me is like. The red-clothed middle-aged man's firm face was covered in surprise. Demon Beast, WRM Python. The gray-clothed old man continued the red-clothed man's words, and he had a serious expression. Exactly, it's precisely the WRM Python. He actually mastered the origin energy utilization method of the WRM Python to defeat a stronger opponent. It's truly shocking. The red-clothed middle-aged man sighed with emotion, and his words contained slight disbelief mixed within. Perhaps, if he knew that the third form of the cultivation technique that Duanling Tian cultivated, the Nine Dragons War Sovereign technique, was the WRM Python form, he wouldn't think like this. The young miss isn't a match for him. The gray-clothed old man shook his head, and a strand of bright light flashed within his muddy eyes. Even though there was an extremely great distance between them, he seemed as if he was able to clearly see the violet figure in the groom search competition arena. You aren't a match for me. On the arena, Duanling Tian looked at the city governor's daughter. We'll only know if I'm a match for you or not after I try. The city governor's daughter shouted out in a tender voice. Her graceful and slender figure flashed out once again, seeming to have transformed into an enraged fire phoenix that wanted to burn Duanling Tian into ash. Duanling Tian was able to perceive the rage within the words of the city governor's daughter. Flower Rain. The city governor's daughter swung the Duanling Tian's face became grim, yet he stood on the spot, not moving like a mountain. Origin energy lightly started trembling with a frequency that grew high and higher atop the violet myrtle flexible sword in his hand. Quake energy at the limit. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. The whip images that covered the skies poured down, seeming to have transformed into swift droplets of rainwater that formed a heaven-encompassing net that wanted to bind Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian made his move. Sword drawing arts. His sword swung out like a bolt of lightning, flashing straight towards the grade 5 spirit whip that was seen through and locked on by his spiritual force. Dragon's finishing touch. The violet myrtle flexible sword drew an arc before swiftly stabbing out, and a piercing howl resounded out as it descended onto the spirit whip, breaking the martial skill of the city governor's daughter once again. Let go. Duan Ling Tian shook his hand as he shouted out explosively, wanted to make the city governor's daughter let go of the spirit whip in time. But he quickly noticed that the city governor's daughter actually had no intention of letting go. In the end, Duan Ling Tian twisted the violet myrtle flexible sword in his hand to disperse the origin energy of the city governor's daughter on the spirit whip. Then his other hand flashed out to grab a hold of her hand before seizing the spirit whip and tossing it aside. This woman is too headstrong. Duan Ling Tian sighed in his heart. In next to no time, he finally noticed softness in his hand, and only now did he realize that he was still holding the delicate hand of the city governor's daughter. Duan Ling Tian noticed that at this moment, the city governor's daughter wasn't furious as before. She glanced at him before lowering her head with a ladle-like appearance. Compared to before, she was like a completely different person. Not good. This scene caused a bad premonition to arise in Duan Ling Tian's heart, and he hurriedly let go and took a few steps back. It was a good battle. Big brother Ling Tian, do you want to see how she looks? The little gold mouse's voice transmission entered into Duan Ling Tian's ears. If you want to see, then I'll go pull off her veil right now. Don't act recklessly. Duan Ling Tian glared at the little gold mouse as he stopped her. If the little gold mouse were to pull off her veil, then the city governor's daughter would say, "The first man who sees my face must be my husband." Then wouldn't he suffer this for no reason? This little brother has won. Little brother, congratulations on becoming the city governor's son-in-law. Congratulations, little brother. In next to no time, Duan Ling Tian noticed that the surging crowd around the arena were actually congratulating him, and it caused him to be speechless. Didn't I say before that I only came for the soul transformation fruit? Is there something wrong with the ears of these people? Right when Duan Ling Tian was intending to provide an explanation. Ha ha ha. A hearty laughter sounded out from the horizon and became clearer and clearer. Duan Ling Tian raised his head to look over. He saw a crimson-red figure descending from the sky and quickly arrived before him. This was a middle-aged man in a crimson-red robe with a dignified expression between his brows, and his eyes that were looking at Duan Ling Tian right now were emitting bright lights. Lord City Governor. A wave of respectful voice sounded out by Duan Ling Tian's ears. It was the surrounding crowd of people that were bowing to the red-robed middle-aged man. City Governor? The Phoenix Nest City's governor? Duan Ling Tian came to a sudden understanding. Good. Very good. Kid, from today onwards, you're the son-in-law of Feng Wu Dao. The Phoenix Nest City's governor, Feng Wu Dao, looked at the Duan Ling Tian as he nodded in satisfaction, as if he was like an old man that was more interested the more he looked at his son-in-law. Congratulations, City Governor. Congratulations, City Governor. The surrounding crowd of people all congratulated Feng Wu Dao. Thank you, everyone. Feng Wu Dao laughed and was in an excellent mood. City Governor Feng. Duan Ling Tian glanced at the young woman that stood by Feng Wu Dao's side with a lowered head and slightly shy expression, and he laughed bitterly. I think you've misunderstood. I ascended this arena today only for the sake of that soul transformation fruit, and not for your daughter. As soon as Duan Ling Tian's words sounded out, the joyous atmosphere in the scene stopped abruptly. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Numerous gazes from all around the arena descended onto Duan Ling Tian. The crowd of people were all shocked by what Duan Ling Tian said. Only now did some people recall that when the young man ascended the arena earlier, he did indeed say this. But no one took his words seriously at that time. What did you say? Feng Wu Dao's face became grim, and in almost an instant, a formidable, imposing manner swept out from him to press onto Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian's face went pale. The imposing manner of Feng Wu Dao descended onto him and pressed on him to the point his internal organs shook. In the end, Duan Ling Tian was truly unable to endure it, and his body shook. Pooh! He was forcefully made to spit out a mouthful of blood. Subsequently, Duan Ling Tian struggled to raise his head and look at Feng Wu Dao in astonishment, and he had a fearful expression. The strength of this Feng Wu Dao is so strong. I'm not afraid of it in the slightest, even if it's the imposing manner of an ordinary void initiation stage expert. But his imposing manner is actually able to injure me. Waves of coldness abruptly arose within Duan Ling Tian's heart. Kid, do you think the groom search competition my city governor's estate held is a game? Or do you think no one wants my daughter? That you can choose to marry her at a whim? Feng Wu Dao glanced coldly at Duan Ling Tian as he shouted in a deep voice. Presently, a trace of surprise that was difficult to notice flashed within Feng Wu Dao's eyes when he saw Duan Ling Tian actually only spat out a mouthful of blood when enveloped by his imposing manner. Originally, as far as he was concerned, his imposing manner was sufficient to press a mere 5th-level nascent soul stage martial artist like Duan Ling Tian flat on the ground. Where do you place the dignity of the city governor's estate by doing this? Where do you place the face of my daughter? The voice of Feng Wu Dao suddenly became stern. Whoosh! An even stronger, imposing manner flashed out to sweep towards Duan Ling Tian. Instantly, Duan Ling Tian's ghastly pale expression became deathly pale, and he felt his entire body, placed within the center of a storm, on the verge of collapse. Duan Ling Tian glanced at the young woman who stood by Feng Wu Dao's side with a pair of slightly red eyes, and smiled bitterly while he spat out another mouthful of blood. City Governor Feng, I told your daughter when I ascended the arena. I only came for the soul transformation fruit. You really don't like me. The city governor's daughter's eyes contained tears that were about to drop as she stared at Duan Ling Tian, and her gentle and moving voice contained slight agitation mixed within. Duan Ling Tian sighed. I haven't even seen your appearance. How can I say I like you or not? But I did indeed come here for the soul transformation fruit this time, and have no other intentions. If I can't only take the soul transformation fruit, then I'm sorry for disturbing you. Farewell. I'm sorry. Duan Ling Tian looked at the city governor's daughter and smiled apologetically, then turned around, intending to leave. Do you think you can come and go to my city governor's estate as you please? The instant Duan Ling Tian turned around, he heard a voice seeming to condense into a sharp sword that fiercely pierced into his ears, shocking his eardrums to the point they trembled. A force that he was unable to rival instantly spread throughout his body. In the next moment, he felt his entire body become powerless and his consciousness gradually becoming blurred. The crowd of people before him gradually vanished before his eyes. Squeak, squeak. Before he fainted, he heard the little gold mouse's enraged cry sound out by his ears. Then he completely lost consciousness. When Duan Ling Tian regained consciousness, he felt his entire body ache. So painful. Duan Ling Tian opened his eyes, and only now did he notice that he was lying on a luxurious bed within a spacious room. You've woken up? Right at this moment, the room's door was opened and a fiery red, beautiful figure walked in, and she held a tray containing a bowl of fragrant meat porridge. Duan Ling Tian's stomach growled without putting up a resistance the instant he smelled the fragrance of the porridge. Duan Ling Tian looked at the red-clothed young woman who wore a veil, the city governor's daughter, and he shook his slightly dazed head as he asked, How did I get here? You were knocked out by my father, and you've been unconscious for 3 days and nights. My father's temper is like that, so don't take it to heart. The city governor's daughter placed the porridge at the side and helped Duan Ling Tian up slightly before removing her veil. Then she held up the bowl of porridge and scooped a spoonful before putting it before her mouth and blowing. She passed the spoon to Duan Ling Tian as she smiled lightly. It's been 3 days. You're surely hungry already, right? But Duan Ling Tian was currently dumbstruck. He was completely dumbstruck at the instant the city governor's daughter removed her veil. When the veil dropped down, Appearing before Duan Ling Tian's eyes was a dazzling beauty with an absolutely beautiful face, her black eyebrows like paintings, and her eyes like 2 drops of autumn water. Her fine nose, scarlet lips, white teeth, and naturally sweet features drew out a perfect face that was breathtakingly beautiful. She was just like a fairy that had fallen into the mortal realm. At this moment, Duan Ling Tian felt his heart. "You? So beautiful," Duan Ling Tian muttered. "You? So beautiful," Duan Ling Tian muttered. The young woman's beauty was breathtaking. "You should drink your porridge." The young woman's beautiful face flushed red, as if blood could drop out from it, and she was gentle like water. Compared to the valiant young woman that fought Duan Ling Tian in the arena earlier, she was like a completely different person. Fiery in action, but like water when calm. This was the impression Duan Ling Tian had of the young woman in his heart. Duan Ling Tian allowed the young woman to feed him a mouthful of porridge, and he felt warmth arise in his body when the porridge entered his stomach. I still don't know your name," the young woman asked timidly. "I'm called Duan Ling Tian." Duan Ling Tian lightly smiled and looked at her. "What about you?" "Feng Tian Wu." The young woman smiled sweetly. "I'm truly sorry about what happened before. I was really not prepared." Duan Ling Tian had an apologetic expression when he recalled the other day. Feng Tian Wu seemed to recall what happened that day when she heard this. Then she faintly sighed. "You, don't blame my father. He did it for me. Perhaps it's truly because your conditions really conform to the person in my destiny. So my father wasn't willing to let you leave like that." "This person in your destiny?" When Duan Ling Tian heard her, he was unable to make heads or tails from it. "What destiny?" Feng Tian Wu continued to feed the porridge to Duan Ling Tian and slowly explained. "Actually, my father, Grandpa Kong, and Grandma Su only came to this city a few years ago. At that time, this city wasn't called Phoenix Nest City yet." Duan Ling Tian was shocked as he never imagined that the city governor, Feng Wu Dao, was actually not someone from this city. After Feng Wu Dao arrived, he'd become the city governor in a short amount of years, and even obtained the respect of the residents of Phoenix Nest City. Such ability was shocking. "Then where are all of you from?" Duan Ling Tian asked curiously. "The Darkhan Dynasty," Feng Tian Wu said slowly. "Darkhan Dynasty." Duan Ling Tian was shocked. But when he recalled Feng Tian Wu's natural talent in the martial Dao and Feng Wu Dao's unfathomable strength, he came to an understanding. Perhaps only someone from the Darkhan Dynasty was able to possess such terrifying natural talent and strength. "The destiny you spoke of earlier is?" Duan Ling Tian asked curiously when he recalled what Feng Tian Wu said earlier. Feng Tian Wu faintly sighed as she said slowly, "That is the destiny my great-grandmother divined for me. She was a powerful diviner and the person I respected the most. But for the sake of divining a way of survival for an ominous person like me, she wasted the last 20 years of her lifespan." As she finished speaking, Feng Tian Wu's beautiful face was covered in tears. "Diviner?" Duan Ling Tian was completely puzzled when he heard this. Could it be that this diviner was similar to the fortune tellers of his previous life? But Duan Ling Tian had never believed these things in his previous life. "Don't be sad. Since your great-grandmother chose to do this, then it's sufficient to show she loved you very dearly. I presume that if she was aware in the afterlife, she wouldn't be willing to see you like this." Although Duan Ling Tian didn't believe in divining or destiny, Feng Tian Wu's current appearance that was like a pear blossom bathing in rain still caused him to be unable to bear it, and he hurriedly consoled her. Under his consoling, Feng Tian Wu finally recovered back to her previous self. "Do you think that the so-called destiny is extremely illusory and unreal?" Feng Tian Wu looked at Duan Ling Tian's eyes and asked abruptly. Feng Tian Wu's beautiful eyes were pure and flawless, like 2 beautiful gems that caused Duan Ling Tian's feelings to surge. Duan Ling Tian didn't deny when faced with this question of Feng Tian Wu's, and he nodded. Feng Tian Wu slowly said, "At the beginning, I was unwilling to believe it as well. Until that day in the groom search competition's arena when I myself acknowledged that my strength was inferior to you. Only at that moment did I believe that destiny my great-grandmother divined wasn't illusory and unreal." "What do you mean?" Duan Ling Tian looked at Feng Tian Wu in interest. Do you know why my father brought me to this city at the extreme south of Darkstone Empire? Feng Tian Wu answered her own question. It's precisely because of the destiny my great-grandmother divined. According to my great-grandmother, I would encounter the man in my destiny when I was 20 years old at the southernmost city of the Darkstone Empire, Phoenix Nest City. As she spoke up to hear, a wisp of a blush appeared on Feng Tian Wu's peerlessly beautiful face. So, after my father became the governor of this city, he changed the name of the city to Phoenix Nest City. My great-grandmother said that the man in my destiny is from the south, and he would appear at a certain time during the year I turned 20. She asked my father to hold a groom search competition for me at that time and use the soul transformation fruit she left behind as my dowry. Feng Tian Wu continued, I just turned 20 this year. My father believed my great-grandmother's words, so he held a groom search competition during the time frame my great-grandmother spoke of, only for the sake of waiting for the appearance of the man in my destiny. The 10 days of the groom search competition was the time frame my great-grandmother divined that man would appear. According to what my great-grandmother said, that man's age doesn't exceed 25 and would defeat me during the groom search competition. Based on my strength, not to mention in the remote cities of the Darkstone Empire, even if it's in the entire Darkon dynasty, a young genius that is able to defeat me while being below 25 years of age is an existence like phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. During the first 9 days of the groom search competition, although many people had come, there wasn't a single person that could withstand a single move from me. When I saw the arrival of the third day, a thought arose within my heart. Perhaps it really was my great-grandmother who was mistaken. Only until you appeared and defeated me did I know that the destiny my great-grandmother wasted 20 years of her lifespan to divine wasn't fruitless. After she finished speaking, Feng Tianwu looked at Duan Ling Tian and asked, Are you from the south? Feng Tianwu's words caused Duan Ling Tian to be unable to regain his senses for a while. To him, everything Feng Tianwu said was too profound. Destiny. He didn't believe in this. Exactly, I'm from the south. But perhaps all of this is only a coincidence. Duan Ling Tian said to Feng Tianwu. He was from the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom, and the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom was indeed to the south of the Darkstone Empire. Coincidence. Feng Tianwu shook her head, then went silent for a moment before saying, Don't worry. If you're unwilling, then I won't force you. I didn't mean it that way. Presently, Duan Ling Tian didn't know what to say. Although he said it was a coincidence, he was still extremely shocked in his heart. After all, if all this was true, then the great-grandmother of the young woman before him was truly inhuman, as she was even able to divine when he would arrive at Phoenix Nest City. The soul transformation fruit was still the most important. Earlier, Feng Tianwu had explained the origins of the soul transformation fruit in her words earlier. That was the dowry the old woman had left for Feng Tianwu. In other words, if he wanted the soul transformation fruit, then he must marry Feng Tianwu. If it was before, at the time he didn't have Co-heir and Li Fei by his side, he might have directly agreed and married Feng Tianwu. After all, Feng Tianwu's conditions weren't bad in any way. She possessed both a beautiful appearance that was like a flower and a shocking background. But now, with Co-heir and Li Fei, it was equal to having an extra responsibility. If he could, he didn't want to hurt the two girls. Moreover, what he felt for Feng Tianwu now was mostly admiration and not affection, nor was he struck by desire like when he met Li Fei that day. Perhaps it was because he already had Co-heir and Li Fei that he would be like this. All in all, this type of feeling was extremely complicated. I didn't mean it in that way. I just feel it's slightly abrupt. Moreover, both of us have only just become acquainted and have no feelings between each other at all. Could it be that you're willing to be married to a person you don't know? Duan Ling Tian asked Feng Tianwu. Feng Tianwu's cherry lips slightly moved when she heard this. She seemed as if she wanted to say something, yet didn't say it. Big brother Duan, I'm going out first. Take care of your injuries properly. Feng Tianwu sighed faintly, then held the tray that had the empty bowl on it and left, leaving behind a beautiful back for Duan Ling Tian to see. She seems to have something that's difficult to voice out. Duan Ling Tian frowned, as he clearly saw the actions of Feng Tianwu earlier. Swoosh! A howl of the wind sounded out, and the room's door was knocked open with a bang. Then a gold light shot onto the edge of the bed by Duan Ling Tian's side. Big brother Ling Tian, you're finally awake. The little gold mouse looked at Duan Ling Tian and danced with joy. And as she communicated with Duan Ling Tian via voice transmission, it seemed to contain slight excitement mixed within. Little Gold, what happened after I fell unconscious that day? Duan Ling Tian asked curiously. Oh, you were knocked out by Feng Wu Dao that day. Ash heard the little gold mouse's voice transmission. Duan Ling Tian obtained a certain level of understanding of everything that happened that day. Feng Wu Dao didn't make it difficult for him and Little Gold in the end. He brought Duan Ling Tian and the little gold mouse to the city governor's estate, and he even gave Duan Ling Tian a great recovery pill. Big brother Ling Tian, big sister Tian Wu isn't bad. Do you want to marry her? The little gold mouse blinked her jade green eyes as she sized up Duan Ling Tian with interest. Duan Ling Tian glared at the little gold mouse. You little fellow, you're just a stinking kid. Don't meddle in the affairs of grown-ups. My injuries have almost recovered. Accompany me on a walk outside. Right when Duan Ling Tian intended to change his clothes and leave the room with the little gold mouse. Knock, knock. The sound of the door being knocked sounded out. It isn't locked. Along with Duan Ling Tian's reply, the unlocked door was opened, and an aged figure slowly walked in. Duan Ling Tian recognized this person with just a glance. It was precisely the azure-clothed old woman that stood at the side of the groom search competition arena that day, and the Grandma Su that Feng Tianwu spoke of. Thump! A scene that caused disbelief in Duan Ling Tian appeared. Grandma Su didn't say anything before walking over before his bed and directly kneeling on the ground. Senior, what are you doing? Duan Ling Tian has a shocked expression as he hurriedly got down off the bed, wanting to help Grandma Su up. But unfortunately, Grandma Su's cultivation was much stronger than his own, and as she knelt there, no matter how he pulled, he had no way of holding Grandma Su up. Senior, Duan Ling Tian laughed bitterly. No matter what it is, stand up and speak of it. When he saw Grandma Su making no reaction, Duan Ling Tian straightened his face. If you still don't stand up, then I'll leave directly. Grandma Su stood up when she heard this. Young Master Ling Tian. Grandma Su respectfully bowed to Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian wasn't surprised that Grandma Su knew his name. Presumably, Grandma Su had already met with Feng Tianwu earlier. Senior, if there's anything, then just speak frankly. Young Master Ling Tian, the young miss ought to have told you about the matter regarding her destiny, right? Grandma Su asked. Yes. Duan Ling Tian nodded. Then do you know that if her destined man doesn't become one with her, she won't be able to live past the age of 30? Grandma Su sighed. What? Duan Ling Tian's face went grim. Senior, what exactly is going on? I knew it. The young miss is so kind, and would have surely not told you this. Grandma Su continued. Young miss is innately born different from an ordinary person. She possesses the extremely rare fire spirit body. Fire spirit body. Duan Ling Tian was stunned when he heard Grandma Su, and when he searched the memories of the Rebirth Martial Emperor and found out what innate fire spirit body meant, his face was filled with shock. The fire spirit body was an extremely overbearing innate spirit body, and it was extremely rare. In the history of Cloud Continent, not only had the fire spirit body appeared, but practically all the other spirit bodies like the water spirit body, lightning spirit body, and wind spirit body had appeared. But the possessors of these innate spirit bodies rarely survived past the age of 30. Only because once they were 30, the energy of the innate spirit body would completely explode out, and the possessor of the spirit body would be unable to endure the pressure and directly explode from the overflowing energy. The Rebirth Martial Emperor had experienced 2 lifetimes and had once encountered a possessor of a water spirit body. The possessor of the water spirit body had extraordinary natural talent before the age of 30 and relied on the water spirit body to comprehend 3rd-level water concept once the possessor's cultivation stepped into the 7th level of the void prying stage. When the possessor of the water spirit body exerted all abilities, The strength displayed was even able to completely crush ordinary first-level and second-level void initiation stage martial artists. However, at the age of 30, this possessor of the water spirit body was unable to endure the energy erupting out from within his body and exploded from the overflowing energy. That person was a good friend of the Rebirth Martial Emperor in his first lifetime, and the only spirit body possessor that the Rebirth Martial Emperor had encountered in his 2 lifetimes. It was precisely because of this good friend that the Rebirth Martial Emperor had once gained in-depth knowledge of the various spirit bodies through various ancient books. In the end, he obtained a conclusion. Practically all possessors of these miraculous innate spirit bodies are unable to live past the age of 30 because the energy of the innate spirit body would erupt when the possessor turned 30. Whereas if one wanted to solve this problem, then there were only 2 methods. The first, break through to the void transformation stage by the age of 30. According to the determination, if one's cultivation breaks through to the void transformation stage, then one can forcefully withstand the eruption of the spirit body's energy when one is 30. Otherwise, even if one is at the 9th level of the void interpretation stage, one would still die without a doubt. But unfortunately, it was extremely difficult to break through to the void transformation stage by the age of 30, and it was as good as impossible. The second, find a possessor of a spirit body of an opposite attribute, then become one with that person. In this way, the energy of the 2 spirit bodies will be able to be relieved through the union of yin and yang. And when the possessors are at the age of 30, the condition of the energy of the spirit body erupting wouldn't occur any longer. Like Feng Tianwu, she was a possessor of the fire spirit body. If she was able to find man with the water spirit body or ice spirit body and become husband and wife with him, then once they become one, they could stop the calamity before it even occurs. I never imagined that she's actually a possessor of the fire spirit body. Duan Ling Tian sighed and felt sympathy for Feng Tianwu. According to the memories of the Rebirth Martial Emperor, to a certain extent, possessors of spirit bodies could be said to be existences that were given providence by the heavens. Because their natural talent and comprehension ability were usually extremely high. Especially when comprehending force, they possessed an exceptional advantage. Just like Feng Tian, her cultivation was only at the 6th level of the nascent soul stage, but she'd already comprehended a fire force seed to the peak of comprehension. Once she broke through to the void prying stage, she would be able to directly comprehend elementary fire force. However, although the possessors of spirit bodies possessed natural talent and comprehension ability that caused jealousy and envy, they had to face a calamity of life and death at the age of 30. In the history of Cloud Continent, spirit body possessors rarely lived past the age of 30. Senior, since I don't possess the water spirit body nor the ice spirit body, then even if I marry Tian Wu and become one with her, I'm afraid I'm unable to get rid of her crisis. Duan Ling Tian looked at Grandma Su and sighed. I don't know about the water spirit body or ice spirit body. All I know is the destiny that the Lord Oracle divined for the young miss, and you are the man in the young miss's destiny. So long as you become one with the young miss, you will naturally be able to get rid of the young miss's crisis. Grandma Su shook her head, as she possessed blind confidence towards the Lord Oracle she spoke of. Duan Ling Tian was speechless. Isn't this just doing things recklessly? Firstly, he didn't have the ability to allow Feng Tianwu to possess a cultivation at the void transformation stage by the age of 30. Secondly, he didn't possess the water spirit body or the ice spirit body, and he was unable to relieve the energy of the fire spirit body within Feng Tianwu. So, as far as he was concerned, even if Feng Tianwu was married to him, he would be unable to help her. Grandma Su Duan Ling Tian hadn't finished speaking when the old woman had knelt down once again, causing him to be speechless. This Grandma Su was a void-prying stage expert at any rate, yet knelt willfully before a mere nascent soul stage martial artist like him and had no bearing whatsoever. If Duan Ling Tian were to use a word to describe it, then it would probably only be shameless. But Duan Ling Tian knew clearly in his heart that the reason Grandma Su was like this was precisely because she cared too much about Feng Tianwu. Duan Ling Tian sighed. Grandma Su, please get up. Marriage is no trifling matter. Even if I'm willing to do this, I still have to seek the opinions of my family, right? In the end, under Duan Ling Tian's persuasion, Grandma Su finally stood up. Right at this moment, young Mrs. Husband, the Lord City Governor asked you to head to the audience hall. A voice entered into the room and entered into Duan Ling Tian's ears. Young Mrs. Husband? The corners of Duan Ling Tian's mouth twitched. Could this be considered as being forced to get married? That city governor Feng is looking for me. Could it be it's also because of the matter with Tian Wu? Duan Ling Tian's brows knit, and he bid his farewell to Grandma Su before bringing the little gold mouse along and walking out of the room. Under the lead of the servant, he headed to the audience hall. City governor's estate, audience hall. Duan Ling Tian walked into the audience hall, and with a glance, he saw the city governor, Feng Wu Dao, sitting at the host's seat at the center. Feng Tian Wu wore her veil once again and stood by Feng Wu Dao's side. Although her appearance was concealed by the veil, her beautiful body was unobstructed, causing one's heart to palpitate. Besides Feng Wu Dao and his daughter, there were another 4 people in the audience hall. 2 beautifully dressed middle-aged men with extraordinary bearing, a young man with a severed arm, and a young woman. Squeak, squeak. At the same time that Duan Ling Tian recognized the young man with a severed arm and the young woman, the little gold mouse that stood on his shoulder looked at the young man with a severed arm as well. Then she bared her fangs and brandished her claws at him, and her jade green eyes were filled with provocation. This young man with a severed arm was precisely the young man that wanted to buy little gold forcefully in the restaurant but failed, then wanted to attack him but had an arm crippled by little gold in the end instead. He seemed to be called Chang Hui. City Governor. Duan Ling Tian looked at Feng Wu Dao and lightly nodded in greeting. Feng Wu Dao nodded, then looked at the 2 middle-aged men and said slowly, "These 2 are the patriarchs of our Phoenix Nest cities, Chang clan and Qian clan. They came to see you." Duan Ling Tian's brows raised, and he looked at the Chang clan and Qian clan patriarch. The cultivations of the 2 weren't ordinary, as they were both existences at the void prying stage. "Have you come to denounce my crimes?" Duan Ling Tian looked at the 2 and smiled indifferently. "I don't dare." The Chang clan patriarch shook his head hurriedly, then raised his hand to withdraw a luminous pearl the size of an adult's fist and passed it to Duan Ling Tian as he said humbly, "Young master, my son was rude a few days ago. I hope that you don't harbor grievances for his past wrongs and don't fuss about it with my son." Duan Ling Tian's gaze descended onto the luminous peak in the Chang clan's patriarch's hand, and he was slightly surprised. If such a huge luminous pearl were to be sold at an auction, it would at least be auctioned off for 10 million gold. To a certain extent, this type of luminous pearl could be considered to be a rare treasure. "Don't mention it, Patriarch Chang. It was only a small matter, and I've already forgotten it." Although he said this, the speed of Duan Ling Tian's hand wasn't slow in the slightest, and he swiftly received the luminous peak in the Chang clan's patriarch's hand, then waited in his hand for a moment. "Then I'll thank Patriarch Chang for this generous gift. As long as you like it." The Chang clan's patriarch forced out a smile, yet his heart was bleeding. This luminous pearl was something he'd bid 30 million gold to buy at an auction in the Darkstone Empire's imperial city. Now, it was given away just like this. But he knew clearly in his heart that he must gift it away. The person before him was the son-in-law of the Lord City Governor. As the patriarch of the Chang clan that had a legacy of hundreds of years, he'd seen the rise of the city governor, Feng Wu Dao, with his own 2 eyes. Feng Wu Dao had only come to their city a few years ago. He'd only just arrived at the city when he domineeringly defeated the governor of the city at that time, then entered the city governor's estate and became the new owner of this city, and had even changed the name of this city to Phoenix Nest City. No one knew how strong the city governor's strength was. They only knew that after the previous city governor was defeated by Feng Wu Dao and driven out of Phoenix Nest City, he was not resigned to his fate in his heart, and he'd found a formidable void initiation martial artist to deal with Feng Wu Dao. In the end, the outcome was that he and the void initiation stage expert he found had died. From that time onwards, no one within the Phoenix Nest City dared question Feng Wu Dao's strength. "Young master, this is our Qian clan's apology." The Qian clan's patriarch withdrew a necklace made from a string of rainbow-colored gems and passed it to Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian was able to discern that the string of 7 gems of various colors were all purely natural gems and were of extraordinary value. In terms of worth, the 7 gems combined weren't inferior to the luminous pearl that the Chong clan's patriarch had given him. Thank you, Patriarch Qian. Duan Ling Tian wasn't courteous in the slightest as he put it away, accepting both the Chong clan and Qian clan's apologies. Don't worry, patriarchs. I was just playing with Brother Chong and young Miss Qian that day. It was only a small matter and I won't take it to heart, Duan Ling Tian said to the 2 patriarchs. It caused the corners of the Qian clan's patriarch's mouth to twitch. Chong Hui's expression was extremely unsightly. Playing? You were playing, and you crippled one of my arms? Of course, he didn't dare say it out loud. He knew that since that young man before him was already the son-in-law of the Phoenix Nest City's governor, even if they fully expended the strength of the Qian clan and the Chong clan, they would still be unable to do anything to the young man. Just the city governor alone was enough to sweep through their entire Chong and Qian clans. So they could only endure this suffering. When they saw Duan Ling Tian didn't have any intention of pursuing the matter, the 4 people from the Chong and Qian clans heaved a sigh of relief. After they bid their farewells to the city governor, Feng Wu Dao, the 4 of them left directly. Duan Ling Tian. Suddenly, Feng Wu Dao shouted out, causing Duan Ling Tian's mind to shake, and turned to look at Feng Wu Dao with a bitter smile on his face. He knew that what ought to come will come. City governor. Duan Ling Tian looked at Feng Wu Dao with a neither arrogant nor humble manner. Are you really unwilling to marry my daughter? As Feng Wu Dao spoke, a terrifying, imposing manner swept out to envelop Duan Ling Tian. Right when Duan Ling Tian's face became grim and he intended to arouse the origin energy in his entire body to resist it. Swoosh. A gust of fragrant wind assaulted his nose, and a beautiful figure had blocked before him, obstructing Feng Wu Dao's imposing manner. Pooh! The graceful and delicate figure was forced to spit out a mouthful of blood, and her body was on the verge of collapse. Wu! Feng Wu Dao's expression went pale as he hurriedly withdrew his imposing manner. Then he transformed into a gust of wind that instantly arrived before Feng Tianwu and fed a medicinal pill to her. Feng Tianwu's face was ghastly pale and only recovered after a short while, and at the moment she'd just recovered, she said to Feng Wu Dao, "Father, don't make things difficult for big brother Duan." Tianwu. Duan Ling Tian's heart shook when he saw Feng Tianwu suffering an injury because of him. Duan Ling Tian took a deep breath and looked at Feng Wu Dao. City governor, Grandma Su had already told me about Tianwu. I have a certain level of understanding of the fire spirit body as well. But I'm not a possessor of a water spirit body or ice spirit body, and I'm afraid I'm unable to help Tianwu. Big brother Duanyu, you know everything. Feng Tianwu's beautiful face had only just recovered some color with great difficulty, and when she heard Duan Ling Tian, she couldn't help but look over. Duan Ling Tian nodded and sighed. Tianwu, you should have told me earlier. If I really had a way to help you, then I wouldn't stand idly by. Unconsciously, Feng Tianwu's beautiful face was tainted with a blush when she heard Duan Ling Tian. Kid, what you mean is that you're willing to marry Tianwu? Feng Wu Dao looked at Duan Ling Tian with a sparkling gaze. City governor, I feel that what you're thinking in your heart isn't to marry Tianwu away, but it's instead to relieve the disaster of the fire spirit body, right? Duan Ling Tian didn't answer Feng Wu Dao and questioned him instead. Exactly. Feng Wu Dao nodded then said. But, according to the divination of my great-grandmother, who's also the only oracle in the Darkhan dynasty that can spy through the secrets of the heavens, Tianwu's can only ward off the calamity that she must face at the age of 30 if she becomes one with the man in her destiny. City governor, I know of this. Tianwu has told me before. But, according to my understanding of innate spirit bodies, Tianwu possesses the fire spirit body, and there's only 2 ways to avoid the calamity when she's 30. Duan Ling Tian said slowly. The first way is to find a possessor of the water spirit body or ice spirit body to become one with Tianwu. The second way is to let Tianwu step into the void transformation stage before the age of 30. Then she can use the strength of her void transformation stage cultivation to suppress the energy of the fire spirit body that would erupt when she's 30. Duan Ling Tian spoke in an orderly way and caused Feng Wu Dao to be unable to refrain from frowning. After a short while, Feng Wu Dao's frown eased up. What you said is logical, but an innate spirit body is an extremely rare existence. In the history of the Darkhan dynasty, the appearance of the last possessor of an innate spirit body goes back 1,000 years ago. Wanting to find a water spirit body of ice spirit body possessor is by no means easy. Moreover, how do you know you don't possess a water spirit body or ice spirit body? According to my knowledge, many possessors of an innate spirit body only had their spirit body awoken when they were near 30 years of age. As Feng Wu Dao spoke up to hear, he looked at Duan Ling Tian. Perhaps you're a possessor of this type of concealed, innate spirit body. Duan Ling Tian's face froze, then he laughed bitterly. A possessor of an innate spirit body is extremely rare. How could it be such a coincidence? Coincidence? Feng Wu Dao said indifferently. Then let me ask you. For the sake of Wu's destiny, I came to Phoenix Nest City in advance and prepared for a few years. Why would you just happen to appear at this time? Moreover, you're both from the south and came for the soul transformation fruit that my great-grandmother left as Wu's dowry. Don't you think that all this is too much of a coincidence? Feng Wu Dao asked. Duan Ling Tian was silent as he had nothing to say in reply. This was indeed a coincidence, a bizarre coincidence. Duan Ling Tian sighed. All right, just take it as I'm a possessor of a water spirit body or ice spirit body whose spirit body hasn't awoken. But, city governor, you're just so bluntly allowing me to marry Tian Wu. Don't you think it's too careless? You don't know anything about my background, family, or character. Aren't you afraid that Tian Wu would suffer hardships from being with me? You dare? Feng Wu Dao abruptly shouted out explosively, and the shapeless waves of air swept out, causing the tables and chairs in the audience hall to shake as if there was an earthquake. Duan Ling Tian secretly broke into cold sweat. A strong strength equals to greatness, and even a casual shout was like an earthquake. Father, don't frighten big brother Duan. Feng Tian Wu's beautiful brows slightly knit, and she was slightly unhappy. Feng Wu Dao withdrew the aura on his body and sighed. They all say that daughters follow their husbands. It really is so. You aren't even married yet, but you're already protecting him. Father, what nonsense are you talking? Feng Tian Wu's beautiful face flushed as if blood would drip out of it, and at the same time, she snuck a peek at Duan Ling Tian and lowered her head in embarrassment when she noticed Duan Ling Tian was looking at her. Duan Ling Tian was stunned. The relationship between Duan Ling Tian and Feng Tian Wu could be said to be a relationship from an exchange of blows. But now, he was able to discern that Feng Tian Wu seemed to have sincere feelings for him. What was this about? He was unable to wrap his head around it. Could it be that my charm is so great? Duan Ling Tian pondered in all seriousness.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe.